What is good, everybody? You are tuned in to the All Pro Nation podcast live right here on the All Pro Nation Radio Network. I'm your host, Chris Smith, joined as always by my buddy Tanner Weber. Tanner, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, but I'd be doing better if it was football season.
Oh man, we're just a few weeks away from training camp, and then it's right around the corner, man. You just got to make it through July.
Oh, it's just the worst time of the year. I cannot stand July. Any sports.
No. Hey, they got the World Cup going on right now.
I don't watch soccer.
Well, it's there.
Yeah. NBA offseason starts in like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
so I'll be ready.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. Where is the LeBron sweepstakes headed?
Well, I'm hoping it's gonna be LA.
It looks like it's LA, doesn't it?
Did you see that Cleveland made a pitch today to San Antonio, try to get LeBron to stay?
No, I didn't. Do tell.
Zach Lowe of ESPN reported that the Cavaliers made an offer to San Antonio, the number 8 overall pick in tomorrow night's draft, and Kevin Love for Kawhi Leonard.
Ooh.
Would you take it?
I'd take it.
Yes or no?
Kawhi Leonard doesn't want to be in San Antonio, so I would take the number 8 overall pick and Kevin Love for it.
You know what? I think I would take it too, honestly. At first I was like, no, you shoot that down. But I think now you get a top 10 pick and another all-star.
Yeah.
The only thing is I don't know how you make LaMarcus Aldridge, Pau Gasol, and Kevin Love work in the same offense. That's a lot of bigs.
Yeah, that is. But LeBron would definitely stay in Cleveland if that happens.
You think so?
I think so.
Kawhi's only got 1 year left on his contract, and it's rumored he wants to go to LA, so everybody wants to go to the Lakers.
Did you see what LA wants for or what San Antonio wants for Kawhi Leonard if they trade him to LA?
Oh yeah, it was like all three of their core.
Yeah, well,
so I think it was Kuzma, Lonzo Ball, and Brandon Ingram, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying no to that. I'm going to shoot that down.
Yeah,
so, it probably ain't going to happen this offseason, honestly. I don't think Kawhi is going to be a Spur next year, but I don't think he's going to be a Laker either. I think he'll play out his contract one more year for somebody, kind of like Paul George, and then he'll be a free agent next summer.
Interesting. All right, so we are continuing the breakdown of the NFL heading into the season. Tonight we are talking the NFC West. So that's super exciting. So Rams, Seahawks, Cardinals, 49ers. At the end of the show, we have our buddy Brad from the Locked On Rams Network. You might remember him from earlier on in the offseason. We did a show with him and his co-host James. Super cool guys, awesome guys. Y'all be sure to go check them out. And so he joined us again. Good information, good conversation. So y'all are going to want to stick around to the end for that. All right, let's go ahead and before we jump into the talk about the NFC West, we have a contest that ended tonight.
Oh my God. I completely forgot. I'm sorry.
You completely forgot? This was your contest.
I'll tweet something out after the show, but I did completely forget.
Oh my goodness.
You should have reminded me.
I just thought you knew. You just thought you knew. All right.
I know it.
So we're not gonna do the drawing live on the podcast like we promised.
It won't be live, but it will be done tonight.
Because Tanner wasn't ready. So there is that. So y'all be sure to
don't bite me.
If you haven't already seen it on the Twitter timeline, be sure to go check it out because we'll be posting that probably before you listen to this podcast. So, so y'all go check that out. Be sure that you're following us on Twitter and Facebook at All Pro Nation. We have another giveaway coming up in a couple weeks. So y'all be tuned in for that. I think we're gonna try to give away a lot of stuff. Godfather's all in on the giveaways. So,
I'm all about it.
So yeah, gonna have some giveaways coming to you guys. So y'all be sure that you're following us on the Facebook and the Twitterverse at All Pro Nation. I don't know if I ever tell anybody this, but you can check us out on the YouTube too at All Pro Nation. We got a whole YouTube channel full of previous podcasts and things on there. So man, y'all go check that out too. Give us some love on the YouTubes. Tell everybody that you love us. All right, cool. Well, let's just jump right on in then to the NFC West. So let me ask you, Tanner.
Let's talk.
The Rams won the NFC West last year.
They did. And they will win it again this year.
Okay, they're going to win it again this year. We already know that. not a lot of debate there. But there's got to be one team that's going to be chomping at the bits. Who's that one team?
Yeah.
Who's that one team that's going to be right on their heels?
Yeah, I really agree with Brad. Actually, I really do think it's a coin flip between San Francisco and Seattle. I think Arizona's quite a bit away yet. They're kind of in rebuild mode right now. But the 49ers, I mean, it looks like they got their franchise guy, Jimmy Garoppolo. We obviously got to see him put together a full season, but off the small sample pieces that we've seen, it looks like he's going to be a really good player for a really long time. I like the addition of Jerick McKinnon. Obviously, I'm a little biased. I'm a Vikings fan. I think they upgraded their offensive line well this offseason. I really like the addition of Weston Richburg and Mike McGlinchey at right tackle. And the defense has also added Richard Sherman to bring a veteran presence to the secondary. I really think the development of Akella Witherspoon is going to be really crucial this year, and I really love Richard Sherman being that guy to help him out. I really think they have a solid defensive line, and as long as Reuben Foster can keep his nose out of trouble and keep his name out of the news and he's on the field, I think their defense is really going to be something special this year too. So if I have to pick a team, I'm going to go with the Niners, probably over the Seahawks.
Dang it, I was really hoping you were going to pick Seahawks so I could have another one of my hot takes. But I'm going to go.
The only reason the Seahawks are in the conversation is Russ. Because Russ is an animal.
Yeah, Russell Wilson is a freaking beast. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think it is a coin toss between the Seahawks and the 49ers. But I think at this point, man, I just think the 49ers are so far ahead of.
I think they have a better coaching staff
of the Seahawks. So. Anyway, so yeah, that's who I think. I agree. So how do you see the rest of the? We both agree the Rams at number 1. We both think that the 49ers are going to come in at 2. Are we agreeing that Seahawks will probably be 3?
Yeah, I think Seattle will be right there on San Francisco's butt for the 2 spot. Probably within a game or so of the division. It's going to be those matchups in the season are going to be really crucial. But yeah, like I said, I think Arizona's quite a ways away yet. They're in rebuild mode right now, and they're going to be probably on the bottom end of the NFC as a whole, in my opinion.
Okay, so we're in agreement. Rams, 49ers, Seahawks, Cardinals.
Right.
Cool. All right. So this is always the fun time of the questioning. Rookie of the division, defensive rookie of the offensive rookie of the division, and defensive rookie of the division.
Mm-hmm.
Who are they?
Yeah, we'll go offense first because there's such a small sample size. There's really not a lot of players to choose from. I know we talk about it with Brad a little bit. It seems like Josh Rosen and Rashad Penny are probably the top 2 guys. I'm going to go with Rashad Penny. I think it's a safer pick. I think he has a chance to see a lot of touches really early on. And, I mean, they traded up for him, so that dude better be on the field day 1, right?
Right.
So, I mean, Sam Bradford, I think Josh Rosen's likely to see the field at some point during the year because Sam Bradford's never lasted an entire season because he's always getting hurt. So right. Rosen will see the field at some point, but I don't think that he's going to be able to compete with Rashad Penny's stats.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my offense. How about you?
On the defensive side?
Oh, you just want me to do both of mine first?
Yeah. I mean, you're more the draft guy than I am, so I'm just trusting you on this one.
Oh, I feel you. Defense, I'm gonna go another Seattle player. I'm gonna go with Rasheem Green, the D end out of USC.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's kind of a sexy pick because he was like a third round pick or something like that. But Michael Bennett's gone, Cliff Avrill's gone, and their DN spot isn't as deep as it's been in the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. So you got Frank Clark on one side, and I think Rasheem Green has a really strong chance to be the starter on the other side. I don't think he's going to get like 10 sacks or anything like that, but I could definitely see him, putting up enough numbers to be maybe a rookie of the year candidate for defense.
Okay. All right. So now for breakout player of each team. So let's start with the Cardinals.
I gotta find it quick. I wrote these down before we started. Arizona, I'm going with Budda Baker, the safety. I really liked what he did last year, and I think he's just going to build on that with another year in the system. And he's going to have to step up and be a leader along with Patrick Peterson because that's a young secondary.
Okay. I don't know if this is if it's fair. Is it fair for me to pick a rookie to be a breakout player?
No, Brad did it. You can do it too.
Okay, so I'm going Christian Kirk.
Arizona boy, staying home.
I'm going Christian Kirk. Look, I love Larry Fitzgerald, but how much more does he really have in the tank? They also got who else do they have over there? JJ
For rookies?
Nelson? No,
or all breakout players.
I'm just thinking of other wide receivers that they have. They have who?
Yeah,
JJ Nelson?
They brought in Bryce Butler in the offseason from Dallas.
They do have Bryce Butler. So, but I mean,
their tight ends suck.
They need a running back to step up. So I don't think I think the only reason Fitzgerald's still there is one, he wants to win, and two,
he's loyal.
He's loyal, and I don't think he wants to leave the team without somebody to replace him. I think Christian Kirk could do that. So
cool.
I'm interested in that pick.
Yeah, I like that pick.
Okay. All right, so now let's move up to the San Francisco 49ers.
My breakout player for the Niners, I'm going to go – I actually really like Brad's pick, but I'm not going to go that way. I'll go with Ahkello Witherspoon. I know I just touched on it a little bit. This is another year in the system, and he has not had a veteran presence to kind of help him along the way yet, like a strong veteran presence. San Francisco hasn't had a good corner for a long time, probably since their Super Bowl years. So, yeah, Richard Sherman's there now, and I actually think Ahkello Witherspoon is like almost a clone of Richard Sherman. They're really tall, lengthy corners, and I think that's just going to be a big influence on his play this year. So I'm going with Ahkello Witherspoon.
All right, everybody is probably going to give me flack for this, but I don't care. I'm going with the easy pick here because I think he's going to be the best player on the team. I'm going Jimmy Garoppolo.
You're boring. Come on.
I think Jimmy Garoppolo
Go with a center or something.
No, Jimmy Garoppolo, bro. He is going to live up to that contract. I think we are going to be in awe of Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Do.
Imagine a full off season. I mean, he wasn't on the team last year at this time.
Right.
So another full off season with Kyle Shanahan. That's nuts.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. All right, so now we'll move further up the coast to the Rams. I guess the Rams are further down, aren't they? Los Angeles. Yeah.
Just a little bit, maybe like 200 miles or something like that.
I messed that one up. Okay, Rams.
It's all good. I'm going to go with Cooper Kupp.
Ooh, okay.
I like the addition of Brandon Cooks. I think he's going to see a lot of targets. But just the influence that Coach McVay has in that system, I think he's really going to guide that team along and help the development of all the offensive pieces. I was a huge Cooper Kupp fan coming out of college 2 years ago. And I think he was like my wide receiver 2 or 3 or something like that coming out that year. He's a terrific route runner. He has such a strong work ethic. And I think he's going to see a lot of targets this year now that Sammy Watkins is gone. So another year with Jared Goff is going to help too. So he's going to be my breakout player this year. I could easily see him having 1,000 yards.
Man, this one's hard for me, man, because there's just so many players I want to pick. And it's like, but are they really going to be a breakout player? Because they're already really good. And
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
know.
oh, I don't know what to do. Oh, and you remember our debate we were having on the podcast last week? Safety's
Of
better than Earl Thomas.
oh, okay.
Lamarcus Joyner, I forgot to mention him last
Oh
week.
my gosh,
Bet
Chris,
better than Earl Thomas.
we're not doing this again.
I'm just while he's on my mind, I'm going look.
You
And
might have a few Seattle fans listening this week in the NFC West.
I don't care,
Yeah,
Lamar. And so you know what? With that said, that's who I'm going with. Breakout player, Lamarcus Joyner. I just changed it on the fly.
I mean he played at like a Pro Bowl level though
I
last
know
year. Can
he
you
did.
really say
That's I
that?
know. I don't know. See, that's the thing. Like everybody played. Ooh, I
Here,
got
I
it.
got one for you.
I got it. I
One.
got a good one. I got a good one. And I think he's already really good, but I think the addition of a particular player that they got in the free agency this year is going to make him even better when they're playing side by side. What about Michael Brockers?
Oh, I like that pick.
Ooh,
That's a good
right?
one.
That's a good one. I
Yeah, I
like
like
that one.
Brockers a lot.
Yeah. So that's who I'm going with. I'm going with
The
Michael
only the only
Brockers.
other guy I gotta say that might break out, just you never know if there's gonna be an injury or something. But if like Peters or Talib were to go down, I think Sam Shields could step in and be that guy right away,
Yeah,
and they wouldn't have a problem.
I like that one too.
So
Okay, so all right, so now we will end with the Seahawks.
the Seahawks, I'm gonna go with Frank Clark. I'll kind of touch on the same thing I've already touched on. Frank Clark, Michael Bennett is gone, and Cliff Averill is gone, and he's just gonna see. I mean, he's been a rotational guy ever since he's been there, and he's already a really good pass rusher. So I'm curious to see what his numbers are gonna look like with a full season of snaps under his belt, and he's playing like 90 to 95% of the snaps.
Yeah.
I could see Frank Clark being that guy.
So when I was doing my research on this question, did not know that Sebastian Janikowski was still playing in the NFL, much less on Seattle's team. He's
Yes.
like 100 years old.
Yes. Are you going to the kicker?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying when I was looking through their roster, I was like, wait, what?
Oh man, do it. Go with the kicker.
I'm not going with Janikowski, especially. This was another hard one for me, man. Like, I look at Seattle's team, and I'm like, it's just full of just people that I'm not excited about. I don't know how you can be a Seahawks fan and be excited about
All their
this.
exciting guys are gone, man.
Like, you look at the team, and you've got Earl Thomas, Russell Wilson, Doug Baldwin, and Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright. Like,
Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas.
yeah, well, Cam Chancellor probably. You think he's gonna play?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he'll play.
And so I'm looking. I'm like, who am I gonna pick? I can't pick Russell Wilson. That doesn't count. I can't pick Earl Thomas. I can't pick Bobby Wagner.
You pick a tight end. Luke Wilson and Jimmy Graham are both gone.
Yeah, I could go tight end. I heavily considered Brandon Marshall, but then I'm like, but he's not. Does that really count? Because he's already a Pro Bowl wide receiver.
Yeah, he could be comeback player of the year.
Yeah, he could. I would like to see that. So yeah, this one really threw me for a loop. So I'm going with
Janikowski.
No, Janikowski. No, if I was going to go with the kicker, I'd go with John Ryan, the punter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I really, I don't know, man. I really do not know who I want to go here.
It's all good.
Okay. All right.
You can just move on. It's fine.
No, I'm gonna say I'll pick somebody, but I feel like you're gonna laugh at me when I say the name.
Go ahead, man.
They need this. They need him to be a breakout player. Rashad Penny.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you can go. You pick Josh Rosen. Why can't you pick Penny?
That's true. They need Josh. They need Rashad Penny to be good. That's the running back has haunted this team since Beast Mode left. So, anyways, so there's that. I thought you were going to make fun of me for that. I'm glad you were nice.
No, I understand.
Okay.
I just don't like picking rookies. I don't know.
Yeah, I really don't either. All right, so of course everybody knows I've joked on this podcast a lot. If you follow me on the Twitter, I joked a lot about the Rams playing real life Madden over there. You know, I had to ask Brad about that, so y'all be sure to listen to that. But let me ask you, Tanner, of all the additions that the Rams made, who do you think's going to be the biggest impact?
Honestly, probably Ndamukong Suh.
Okay.
I mean, I thought that their secondary was okay last year. They're obviously going to be better with Peters and Talib, but I just think, I mean, I've said it, you've heard me say it 1,000 times that the game is won in the trenches and it's won up front, and I just can't imagine a scenario where an NFL team can win when Ndamukong Suh, Aaron Donald, and Michael Brockers are rushing the pass rusher, or they're rushing the pass. Sorry. So I just think he's going to be a big influence. He's playing nose tackle now. He's not playing a 3-tech anymore. So I think he's going to see a lot of one-on-one matchups with the center. And the Rams, they could have the best run defense in the league next year. That wouldn't surprise me one bit.
Okay.
How about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's an interesting question, though. I like the addition of Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters. I think Brandon Cooks, I mean, they were already deadly with Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, and now they have Brandon Cooks. I mean, dude, it's crazy what they got going on over there. It's freaking nuts.
Well, I'm excited to see how they respond. Because they're putting a lot of pressure on their team. They have high expectations. What do you think, what's the over-under here? Like 10 wins, 11 wins? If you have anything less than that, it's probably considered a failure, no? I would say probably like 10 wins.
Yeah, I feel like they went all in for a Super Bowl. And if they don't get close, I think it could be bad.
You know, I mean, you got to look at it. You got to look at their offensive line. They're not young by any means. I think they're going to have to develop their depth. Andrew Whitworth is like 35 or 36. John Sullivan is getting up there or he's getting a little long in the tooth. So at what point, I mean, the offense could definitely take a step back in like a year or two, like big time, if they can't win games up front. So they have some older guys in their offensive line that they're going to have to replace here within the next year or so.
Yeah.
That's my thought on it.
Yeah, so Rams are a pretty exciting team. Since they won the division, we'll kind of stay on the Rams train. How do you kind of see the Rams as they compare to the rest of the NFC conference?
Just like talent-wise, or?
I mean, do you think they're going to be able to compete with the likes of Green Bay, Minnesota?
Well, honestly, Eagles, I mean, talent-wise, they can compete with any team in the league. I mean, there's no question about that. They have the talent there, but the problem is going to be the chemistry issues. How long is it going to take for these players to gel together? Because I know you and I have talked about it already about how there's so many big-time personalities. I mean, Ndamukong Suh and Marcus Peters, I feel like they would butt heads. And Aqib Talib. All three of those guys have really strong personalities. So talent-wise, they can compete with anybody, but it's going to be a chemistry issue. But I still think that the Eagles are probably the top team in the NFC. I mean, they're going to be really tough to beat. And then I really actually think there's really 4 teams right there that any of those teams could take number 2: Vikings, Falcons, Saints, Rams. I think any of those teams could be the number 2. And then, obviously, we got to throw the Packers in there, too, because Aaron Rodgers is coming back. So the NFC is nuts. I just don't even know where to start.
Yeah, the NFC is. But it's fun, though.
Stacked.
It's fun. There's just so many teams, and it's fun.
It is fun. It's not going to be fun if your team's on the losing end of it.
No, and my team probably will be, so it is what it is.
I mean, you could win 10 games this year and not make the playoffs in the NFC.
Oh, easily. No doubt
Yeah,
about it.
it'd be 10 to make the playoffs. That's a very good chance that could happen, and that sucks.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So, all right. So I guess let's move into weekly news and notes. What you got for me?
Nothing.
Yeah, not a whole lot. Look, guys.
There was really, I think I had like 3 things that I could share, but other than that, I mean, we're in the toilet hole of the NFL season throughout the year. The summer sucks, and this is the end of June, early July is just terrible. Not a lot of stuff going on. You got anything? I got a few things.
I mean, this is just that time of the year where you really don't want there to be news, because if there's news, it's probably bad news. So you really don't want there to be a whole lot of news this time of year.
Yeah, and actually, the stuff that I am gonna share is bad news, I guess.
Uh-oh.
So I'll just do the 3 things that I got quick. The Browns today signed the former second overall pick, Greg Robinson. He's going to come in and compete for a spot in camp. The Cowboys defensive end David Irving is suspended for 4 games for using PEDs. And then the last thing I got is former NFL tight end Kellen Winslow Jr. was arrested last week on 9 charges, including rape and kidnapping, and he is facing life in prison. So that's all I got. I looked at like the NFL trade rumor mill like before I hopped on just to see if there's anything I should say, and there was really nothing.
Yeah, like I said, this time of year, if there's news, it's bad news. So it's kind of good that there's no news really, because if there was, it would somebody would be sad. So, geez, life in prison.
I don't know. I need more news in my life because my timeline's filled with political BS right now, and I don't want to see it anymore. So I need football back in my life.
I'm just saying that Star Wars is one of my favorite movies, and I'm so excited that we're about to have real life Star Wars happening. So,
Star Wars or Jurassic Park?
What's that?
Star Wars or Jurassic Park?
Star Wars, man.
Real life, both. Did you hear about the dinosaur thing on like Entrepreneur, I think, or whatever Twitter account shared that scientists think they can recreate dinosaurs within the next 5 years? Like, haven't you seen enough movies to like?
Can we just
no,
not?
That's a bad idea.
Like, I'm still trying to figure out why we need to have. I'm still trying to figure out why we need to have a freaking army in space. But you
never know if we're gonna get invaded by aliens, man.
I'm not gonna knock it till I see it, I guess, but it's very strange to me.
Yeah, it is. So,
very strange.
Yeah, that's really all I got.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot either. So, all right, I guess we're going to end the podcast a little early then. Not super early because there is an interview with Brad coming on at the end. So, all right,
yeah,
cool.
Make sure you check that out.
Guys.
We'll be tackling the AFC West next week.
We will. Guys, we need people that are passionate about sports to come join us, work with us, be with us here at allpronation.com. So if you love sports, you don't have to be a professional writer, you don't have to be a professional podcast host. If you want to start your own sports podcast here on the All Pro Nation Radio Network, you can. If you want to just write about your favorite sports team, you can. We just need people. We want y'all to get more involved. So if you're interested in joining us, go to allpronation.com or go follow us on Facebook and Twitter at allpronation. Send us a message. Let us know you're interested. We'll figure out where you will best fit into the All Pro Nation family. Be sure that you are liking and subscribing to this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you really love us, go ahead and give us that 5-star review and tell all your friends how much you love the All Pro Nation podcast. Again, be sure you're following us on the Facebook and the Twitters at All Pro Nation, and check us out on YouTube at All Pro Nation. Give us a 5-star review there as well. I think that's it. Do you have anything else, Tanner?
I don't think so.
All right, guys, thank y'all for listening. Y'all stay tuned for the interview with Brad. Until next week, peace. right, what is up, All Pro Nation family? Welcome back to this week's episode of the State of the NFL, looking into the 2018 season. We have a special guest with us tonight. Y'all may remember him from the Locked On Rams Network. We got Brad with us tonight. Brad, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Just enjoying the sunshine out here in California. No complaints at all, my man. Just ready for some football.
I hear you. So you're a man down tonight, man. There was two of y'all last time we talked.
Yes, my co-host James couldn't make it today, but he wanted me to send his thoughts this way and represent the Rams well. So I hope I do it justice today.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So, all right, cool. Well, let's jump right on in. So, before we do that, Brad, why don't you remind everybody where they can find you on the internet?
Yeah, definitely. You can find me at my personal Twitter, which is at LA_RamblingBear. You can find the Rams podcast either at Rams Podcast or Locked On Rams, and as well as LockedOnRams.com.
Okay, cool. So y'all be sure to check him out. All right. So the last time we talked, it was we're headed right into the free agency period, and I don't know if we talked about how exciting this Rams team was. We talked about they were so close in so many ways, and they're just a few pieces away. And then the off season happened, free agency, the draft, dude. What the hell are y'all doing over there? Y'all just have infinite amount of money?
Next year it seems like we've got a good handful of it. We're a little tight this year, as you can tell. We haven't signed Aaron Donald, but I know that's going to be a priority coming up here before we hit, training camp. But you're right, man. It was crazy for a while out here, and the madness really started before the season, literal season started. And we had 2 trades in the books for Talib and Marcus Peters, locking up that corner position. Then we went out and traded our first-round pick to get that wide receiver position number 1 in Brandon Cooks after we let Sammy Watkins walk. And then, I think the cherry on top was going to get Ndamukong Suh. It was a crazy couple weeks, because now at this point where we're at it's almost, I don't want to say been so dead and boring, because it's like, wow, we haven't picked up an all-pro in like 2 weeks. What's going on? We gotta get some things moving here. But we were really spoiled for those first couple weeks to get all the players that we did. It's going to be so fun. It almost didn't seem real until OTAs just happened. You got to see them in the uniforms. And man, you're right. A long way we've come since last year. When we were coming into being excited about McVay, had no clue what that was going to be like. People were still questioning. Jared Goff only had 7 starts under his belt. Todd Gurley was coming off one of his worst years in the NFL. And there were a lot of new pieces. So no one really knew what to expect. And all of a sudden, coming to this year, there's talks of Super Bowl. It's crazy what a year will do.
Yeah, I remember when the Sue sweepstakes was going on, tweeting at you and James about Sue. I was really hoping he was going to land down here in New Orleans, but unfortunately that didn't happen for me. It was a very sad day.
It was close, man. It was close.
Yeah.
I'd actually like to touch on Aaron Donald quick. What is that contract looking like? We thinking like $25 million a year, maybe?
Wow. I hope not. And I'm behind the train of hashtag pay the man. He's definitely in the 20 million range. I want to keep it as close to that 20 mil as possible. It's gonna be an ESPN breaking news, breaking all records. He's gonna really push on some of those quarterbacks as far as that money. He'll be the highest paid non-quarterback player in the NFL for sure. And he deserves every penny. I just know those guys, and I think that's why it's taken so long, is that they're really, mindful of all the people they have to pay next year, which the list is so long for the Rams. So every penny matters. So I want them to get it done, but I do appreciate that they're going out there and really, being cautious about how they just, hand over this money. But it's gonna be stupid money. It's gonna be 70+ million guaranteed, and looking at 20 to 23 million a year. So whatever it is, I just want to be. I just want to be a Ram. I don't want to piss them off. I don't want to franchise tag them next year. Just get them signed, deal with it, and let's move forward.
Yeah.
Right.
I was literally just about to say something that just like went out my head. God, what was it? I don't know. Anyways, we'll move on. So the Rams have definitely had a crazy offseason. So we'll segue that right into my first question. So you have all these big name additions to the Rams this offseason. Which one do you think is going to have the biggest impact on the team?
Oh man, I know that's a tough question because there's so many different ways you could look at it. Obviously, what Sue's going to do up front, kind of creating space for Aaron Donald, and vice versa, right? You can't double team both of them because we also have Michael Brockers up front that's going to be causing havoc on some stuff. Dominic Easley's coming back from injury this year, so he's going to be a nice kind of rotational player to get in there with a high motor. But really, I mean, if the way I'm looking at it, I think. Production-wise, I think it's going to be Marcus Peters. The guy fits perfect into this system for Wade Phillips, who you hear a lot of the players here in LA talk about how they love Wade Phillips because he allows them to basically be their natural player and to take risks. And that's Marcus Peters' game, is taking risks, going for those interceptions. And the way the defense is set up, it's built for those guys to take the risk because they've got people behind them to kind of protect that. So, we got LaMarcus Joyner back there, John Johnson III, another great addition in the secondary, in the safety position. So I think he's going to be our biggest playmaker addition where you'll see the biggest impact. But I think on the other side of football, which is, the mental side of it, I think Talib is going to be a huge addition for us because he knows the system. He's an older veteran cornerback who can take Peters under his wing and kind of control, I don't want to say control his emotions, but kind of teach him some of the ways, some of the ropes, some of the things that Talib had seen early in his career that he got criticized for being over emotional on the football field. And, obviously we all remember him ripping off Crabtree's chain in a football game. So he's going to be able to give some of that leadership ability and also kind of playing that fine line of like, hey, man, you want to be wild and crazy and emotional, awesome, but let's keep it somewhere where we're not hurting our team with penalties and flags and locker room issues. And I think that goes huge to Talib's sake is, he knows Phillips' system. He knows how to play for a coach like him. So I think that's going to be, the emotional leader on the new addition side. But I think Peters, as far as production, will probably be our biggest addition this year.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to the Michael Crabtree Aqib Talib rematch in the preseason. That'll be fun.
We actually do some crossover practices with them too, so we get to see them even before the season starts. And there is a preseason matchup, but man, it's gonna be fun to see those guys in practice as well.
Yeah, that's I believe that's the first preseason game too, right? Week one of the preseason. So yeah, so we're gonna jump right on in with some good drama right there. All right, so are there any additions to the team? And whether it be free agency, the draft, that you're just kind of scratching your head about with this Rams team. You don't really know where they fit in or anything like that.
Not so much scratching your head, but you're just wondering how they will fit in. I think Sam Shields is a guy that I've kind of talked about in the last couple of days as being kind of under the radar, cornerback, the depth guy that, has been out of the league for the last 2 years with concussion issues. He's finally cleared to play medically, which is great for us. Hearing some news out of camp about him is that he's still got this amazing amount of speed left. They're kind of saying he's one of the few guys that could hang with Brandon Cooks down the sideline, which is really tough to do. There's not a lot of space for him. So I'm curious of how they're going to use him, in nickel packages or if he's going to help out in some special teams. And then, looking on the offense side of the ball, we drafted 2 linemen. We've got a center and a left tackle who I think are going to be more of backup scenario guys that, kind of building and learning behind guys like Whitworth and Sullivan. But kind of curious to see, how that happens, if there's going to be any injuries and if they'll find their way into some playing time.
Okay. All right. So the Rams won the division last year. We all know that, or at least I think that we all know the most interesting matchup over probably the next decade is going to be between the Rams and the 49ers. I think that's just going to be super exciting to watch. So, but what team do you think within that division really poses a threat to the Rams this year?
It's crazy. It's one of those divisions that, last year, the Rams pulled away near the end with a big win up in Seattle, blowing them out to basically solidify, winning that division. I don't think the Seahawks are done and dusted here yet. They definitely lost some players, but they've kept a good core of the guys that are really important to them there on the defense and on the offense with Russell Wilson. They didn't address any offensive line need, which I think is really big for them. They went and got themselves a running back. They changed up their offensive line coach, so they're going to have a whole different blocking scheme, which was a big problem here, listening to some of the Seahawk people talk on how they were doing things. So I think it's tough to write them off as far as, having a shot at this division. I still think it's the Rams to lose, obviously. I think we'll win it by a couple games, to be honest, but the Niners have to prove themselves over a season, right? The whole Jimmy Garoppolo train, which everyone seems to be loving right now. I'm still a little hesitant. I mean, obviously the guy's a great quarterback. He's got the size, the arm, the leadership. They're putting around some talent around him, but it's good. You got to do it for 16 games. You got to do it for a whole season. So we've yet to see him do that, and that defense has got to maintain what that offense can do. So. I think those two are probably the ones that are going to be fighting it out, trying to come at the Rams. And then you just really can't count out Arizona. I know they only had like 4 wins, so people are sitting there listening to this like, yeah, no, actually can count them out. They're terrible. But, they made the big move for Josh Rosen. We're not sure if he's going to get to really see playing time. I think he will, with the way Bradford has really not been able to get through a season with his injury issues. But if Bradford comes out and plays great quarterback ball, they had a defense that underperformed last year. If they can get back, to the good old days with Patrick Peterson and really dominating that side of the ball, they've got some good pass rushers. It could be a team that, makes the sneaky move to kind of compete with the Seahawks and Niners. And it's always easy to do this in the offseason, right? And try to make that scenario. And next thing you know, here we are talking NFC West, 4 teams trying to make the playoffs. But, realistically, it's Rams. I think a slight edge to the Niners just because, Jimmy G still has all those things that you did see. And you kind of expect him to kind of make that leap with all the money they gave him. But you can't count out Russell Wilson. So that would be my tier, would basically be Rams, Niners just by an inch, and then Seahawks and Arizona really coming up quick.
Okay. Tanner, I know you had a couple questions you wanted to ask.
I kind of just like to talk about, I mean, obviously the Rams added a lot of pieces. They have one of the most talented rosters as a whole in the NFL. I just kind of want to see what you think. Where do they kind of fall in line right now after the offseason with the rest of the powerhouse teams in the NFC? I mean, the NFC is no joke. You got the Eagles, Vikings, Saints, Packers coming back with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, we got a ton of really good teams out there. Where do you think they kind of stacked up against the rest of those guys?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the crazy, as you name those teams, Eagles, Vikings, Saints, Packers, we play all of them this year. And so we've got to earn it through the season to get there. I think it's a tough schedule, but it's going to set us up for the playoffs as far as being ready. So when we get to the playoffs, as we expect to, and we see, the Vikings or the Saints, or we have to go and play the Eagles, at some point we'll have that experience through the season. It's going to make us stronger. So the way that we match up, I think, is obviously we had the number 1 offense in the league last year. We had only one really change in the offense, and that's adding Brandon Cooks instead of Sammy Watkins. Early reports out of camp is that you're hitting it off. At this point last year, we didn't have Sammy Watkins. You have to remember that, right? So We're already that far ahead of building that relationship between, QB1 and wide receiver 1. And you're already hearing good reports coming out of camp that they're syncing up really, really well. So you expect that that's going to be a nice transition for us. So what you hope is that our offense can maybe not maintain and be the number 1 offensive team in the league. That's tough to do back to back, but we can't drop too far off that map. We want to be at least, top 3, top 5. If we're 1 again, awesome. I see how we could do it. And then defensively, it was their year to load up. They told Wade Phillips last year, hey, we're going to put all of our money and our chips into Sean McVay in the offense this year. Year 2, we're going to come back and give all that love back to you in the defense, and you saw it with all the additions. So on paper, I look at how we match up against, the Eagles, who we had here in the Coliseum last year, and we'll host again this year in the Coliseum almost around the same time. And that game was all the way down to the end. Carson Wentz got injured in, I think, the third quarter, and that was the first we saw, of them, what they could do with another quarterback. Came in and won the game. So I think we're going to play them pretty well. I think we match up pretty well against a lot of these teams. Aaron Rodgers, kind of curious to see what he's going to do. They picked up Jimmy Graham. He's coming off his injury. Their defense has been shaky at times over the past couple of years. Vikings, have a new quarterback with Cousins, so that's going to be interesting transition to see how they're doing. And if they stay on the same flow and pathway that they were, their defense is unbelievable. But I think we're right up there in the mix with those guys and can definitely hang. But our schedule plays to, one, either getting beat up throughout the year, or two, really building that toughness. So when we get to the playoffs, it's kind of, they don't flinch at these things. They're used to playing this caliber of team in the NFC West, or in the NFC in general.
Yeah, I feel you, man. My Vikings got to go to LA to play you guys this year. Got to go to Philly and to Lambeau. Play them twice, so that's going to be fun too.
Exactly, so, and that's the great thing. Like you said, we're not the only team being tested throughout the year, and it's easy to look back in the most recent year and try to find things to get excited about. And, well, we did this last year, so we're going to do it again, of course, kind of like, we're all saying out here about our offense. But, it's a grind throughout the season, and all those teams are going to have to, hopefully stay healthy, because you want to see the best players play. But Vikings are another team that's got a tough schedule, man. Right.
We're going to go to the kind of a little bit broader end of the spectrum now. I want to go through some of the teams in the division. Out of all the teams, which one or which player in the division do you think has the best chance to win Offensive Rookie of the Year? I know that there's not a large selection on that end of the ball, but there are a few players. We know we got the Seahawks drafted Rashad Penny, and Josh Rosen may end up being the starter eventually at some point down the season.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I think that's going to play big into that, right? If Josh Rosen comes in, I think he's hands down got the easiest track to becoming Offensive Rookie of the Year in the NFC West, just because, one is talent, two, the team's going to really need him and lean on him. Obviously, they're getting David Johnson back, but, that's exactly how Jared Goff really found his way into this league after a couple years, of course, but was being able to use a guy like Todd Gurley to open up the pass, to take things, off of his shoulders as far as leading the team. So that's a big factor for Josh Rosen. If he gets to play, I think that, if he gets the majority of the games, I think he hands down will get it. I'm really curious about Rashard Penny. The league in general kind of scoffed at it when he was picked so early with all the other guys that were on the board, but they seem to love him up there in Seattle. Again, I mentioned it earlier. They've switched O-line coaches. They're going to come in with a whole different scheme for him. So if he can help Russell Wilson not have to be 95% of the offense, I think that alone will give him kind of the tip of the cap of Offensive Player of the Year. If he can go in and, rush for 800 plus yards and, put in 8 touchdowns or so, I think that would probably put him in that conversation. And then one that you don't want to forget is Dante Pettis of the Niners, drafted in the second round. Talented guy out of Washington, super fun, led all of NCAA in kick and punt returns. He's just explosive. Perfect weapon for Jimmy G. He kind of has what I think Cooper Kupp was for us last year, but with a little bit more speed. He's a great route runner, has that amazing speed. If they can find a good way to get him into the offense and be that kind of safety net for Jimmy G, or that third down target where they can maybe, let him go 6 yards, give him the ball and let him do the rest. He could be one of those, wide receivers that puts up, a good amount of numbers and can kind of make, a push for that, that sake. I don't think the Rams really have a contender this year for the Offensive Rookie of the Year. John Kelly would be our one guy. We got him, I believe, in the 6th round. But with as much as that we're going to give Todd Gurley the ball, he's just not going to get enough love to really break out and be that shining, offensive, weapon. And the other guys we got are, linemen. So I don't see that award going out to a lineman, especially in the role of
passes and some
yeah. And we don't want that. We don't want those linemen to play anyway. We want Whitworth to be in there every game and Sullivan. So those will be my three, top guys that I think that could really make an impact in the NFC West in the first year.
Right. Yeah, it's tough for you guys when you didn't pick until like the third round or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Let's flip the coin and go defense now. I know that there aren't a lot of people to select from here either, but I know Seattle's got a few guys that they drafted.
Yeah, they've got what's his name? The brothers.
They got the Shaquem Griffin, linebacker, and then they also took the D end out of USC, who you might be familiar with a little bit, Rasheem Green.
Yes, Rasheem Green, he is a stud, and I think especially going to get some playing time due to how their team has kind of turned over, and no more Michael Bennett, and that defensive line is going to look a lot different. So he'll get some run on the line, and then obviously Griffin, if he can make any impact as far as special teams, and then on the defense side of the ball, his story behind it alone, and I'm not trying to take away from his athletic ability, because the guy is actually, if he did probably have two hands, he probably would have been a second round pick.
Yeah, he runs a 4.38 as a linebacker.
Exactly, the man's a beast, and his best bench press was out of this world. So I think if he can put up some numbers, he's got a good story. He's totally crazy out of this world athletic. And then, a couple guys from the Rams who I'm curious to see how they're going to do. Micah Kaiser was just a tackling machine out of the ACC for 3 years. I think he had over 350 tackles or something like that. One of the only few players in the last 20 years to have 3 consecutive 100-tackle seasons. So I'm curious to see what we can do with him and get him in the game. And then Obo Okoronkwo, which I love, his last name always kills me.
Yeah,
he goes by... Yeah,
super hard to hear.
He goes by Obeezy. That's where I'm going to live this whole year, is just calling him Obeezy. If he likes it, it's way easier on me. But he's a freak, man, and I'm excited to see him. He's a little banged up right now. We held him out of OTAs, but they're expecting him to be back for training camp. So we'll see how he can fit in. But another guy that's got one of those, cliche high motors, but excited to see how he can kind of come in and make a difference, especially in that linebacking core and edge rush of the Rams, which there's lots of opportunity for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Outside of rookies here, we're going to kind of go team by team here, and I want you to, based on what you've seen from these other teams within your division, pick a player from each team who you think has a chance to be the breakout player for that team this year. We'll start with the Cardinals.
Yeah, and I hate to repeat on it, but, it's hard not to say Josh Rosen. Because I don't think he's going to start, right? So, but if this thing goes south in the first 5-6 games, there's going to be a lot of pressure out there to get him in. And if he can do anything there, then it's hands down him. If he can come in and win some ball games and do that, down there in the desert when they had 4 wins last year, and if he can come out and get 5-6 wins to end the year like Garoppolo did, then I think that's going to be a huge key for him. But I would probably have to say Josh Rosen for Arizona.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a good pick. Going on up to Seattle, I know that they got a lot of new pieces on their defensive stuff with Michael Bennett and Cliff Averill gone. Is there somebody in Seattle you could see breaking out on the defense maybe?
Seattle's defense.
Or offense. You can go offense, too. I just assume it would be somebody from their defense because they got a lot of new faces. Griffin's gone, too. Or Sherman, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's tough. I think they're going to have to really count on some of their veterans. They need, Earl Thomas to come back. He wouldn't be a breakout, obviously, because he's been, a makeshift there for a long time. But they're going to really have to lean on him. I'm really, really curious. And I know, again, I'm looping back to people we talked about earlier, but Rashard Penny, they went and got this guy in the first round. They put a lot into him, skipped over a lot of other guys, skipped over getting, O-linemen, getting more needs on the defense. So I really think that he's going to be a huge part of what they do because, like I mentioned, Russell Wilson having, what 90% of the office runs
90,
him.
95, 98.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. Is going to be, is going to be a huge part of what he does. So, yeah, that would be mine. I'm actually, to be honest, other than that, the defense is kind of slipping my mind as far as other additions that could really come in and break out there.
All right, let's move to the Bay Area, the 49ers.
I think it's going to be Jerick McKinnon. Obviously, they picked him up. One of your former guys out there from Minnesota was in split time when he was there, and when he got his time and he got his carries, he really showed out. Obviously, you always hear a key to a successful offense is having a great running back, and for all the hype that Jimmy G is getting right now, he's gonna need someone to take the pressure off or to really open up that play action or open up, his arm a little bit, is to have a solid running game. So it's McKinnon's game to have. There's they've got a couple other guys behind him, but it's his job. And so if he can finally be that guy that can take that 25 plus carries a game and produce, I think he's going to be a big key to that Niner offense this year, is because, like I said, the hype is all Jimmy G, and without a running game, it's going to be tough to just sit back there and throw 40, 50 times a game. It's just not a successful, offensive plan. So that's one that, when I saw him sign out in, in Niner with the Niners,
Ninerland.
Ninerland, man. I was a little uneasy because I followed him via fantasy, obviously, and just following the NFL. I know the guy's a stud. He's got crazy speed. So was no one I was really welcoming into the division out here, but I think he could have a big impact if they could make some room for him.
Yeah, I really do think he's going to be a nightmare in Kyle Shanahan's offense. For any of you fantasy geeks out there, make sure you get him on your team this year if you're playing in a PPR league.
For sure.
All right, you got the inside word. The floor is yours. Who is going to be the breakout player for the Rams this year?
Oh man, it's so much fun because there's so many people to pick from. So I'm gonna be a little selfish, and I'm gonna pick a couple guys here. We all know Todd Gurley. We all know Todd Gurley's a stud. I think people are still in the national media not really believing the hype on Jared Goff, which is crazy as you look at some of his numbers and how he throws under the pressure. His play action. Percentages, his interceptions, how low they were, how smart he was with the ball, how he took this offense so fast. So I don't know if he'd really be a breakout player because in my mind, I think he's a stud that just was stuck with Jeff Fisher for a while. And then Cooper Kupp did his little addition to, welcome to the NFL last year. I really think offensively, as you look at the guys like Brandon Cooks, who's your number one wide receiver, so you expect to have a great season. Robert Woods, who probably was our breakout player last year. I think Cooper Kupp's going to take that next jump. I mean, the man had almost 800 yards receiving last year, had a small handful of touchdowns. I really think he's going to take the step up and go into that, 80 plus catches this year. Get close to breaking 1,000 yards and get in the end zone a little bit more. I think him and Jared Goff have this amazing connection. And with all the weapons that are going on for the Rams, I think he's always found a way in this one quick season we saw, but to kind of hide behind the defense. They kind of just lose him a lot. He's a great route runner. I watched a lot of film on him as far as he would break off the route. He's this brilliant football player. So he would break off his route and find the open space, and him and Jared Goff had that relationship to put it there. So I really think Cooper Kupp is going to be our offensive breakout player, even though last year he was a stud and you could almost, give it to him. But I think Robert Woods would have taken that last year. And then defensively on the other side of the ball, I mean, it's really just kind of close your eyes and throw a dart at the board, and you could be right there because we've got so much talent. But under the radar, I'm going to say John Johnson III. Plays in our secondary. He finished, it's his second-year player. Finished great last year. There's talks to him, again, coming out of camp that not only is he feeling kind of ownership of this defense, but he wants to be a vocal leader, which is crazy to think of a second-year guy, in the second half, and then into the secondary, and you've got the likes of Peters, Talib, Sue, Donald, and here comes this guy saying, I want to be a vocal leader. I want to take that next step in my game and really, contribute more. So I think that what we'll see from him, he's a big hitter. He plays the ball well. He had a couple great interceptions last year. So I think he's going to take the next step. We got LaMarcus Joyner right there next to him, who's just so much fun to watch play football. But I would say John Johnson III would be my defensive, breakout player.
Cool. I like it. Yeah, I was a big fan of John Johnson coming out of school last year. So I guess I don't know if I'd call this a question because you kind of hinted on it already. The last one for me is, I guess I'd just like to hear you say one more time how you kind of see the NFC West shaping out from top to bottom. Who do you see winning the division, and then second, third, and fourth? If you just want to hint on that one more time.
Yeah, definitely.
And just so you know, we're holding this to you, so if you're not right, we're calling you out, okay?
It's early, man. It's early.
Hey,
you got to take a guess, though.
That's all right. I'll pick up the phone when I'm wrong, man. I'll pick it up. Just give me that call. You need to be held accountable. So, the way I see it, I think the Rams win the division by 2 games, at least. I think they're going to I think there's a good chance they sweep the Seahawks, win up there. We know we can win in Seattle. We've played Seattle so great over the past 3 or 4 seasons, especially. They snuck out of a win here in LA last year. Cooper Kupp, my breakout player, dropped a touchdown pass at the end of the game. Don't expect him to be doing that much this year. So I could see us sweeping them. Again, with the Niners, maybe we split that. We've done really well against Arizona. So I see us sweeping Arizona. And our non-conference is going to be what can really, trip us up. We talked about it. We've got the Eagles, Vikings, Saints, Packers, the Bears, who are kind of, stories about them being last year's Rams, if you will. So a lot of different challenges throughout along the way. But I really like the Rams at top. And then on a coin flip, I'd almost have to go Niners just because of the additions that they've added on the defense side of the ball. Obviously getting Reuben Foster back after all of his, hectic trials and tribulations and everything like that. Richard Sherman now on their team. We'll see how he comes back from the injury. But I think that gives them the slight edge over the Seahawks. Again, on a coin flip, really. And then from there, I think Arizona, but I think it's going to be a lot tighter. I don't expect them just to win 4 games. I could see them being, in that 7-8 range and being kind of nipping on whoever is in third place at that point. I think it's going to be a tight conference, and I wouldn't be shocked if one of those teams, split with us. I don't think we're going to get swept by anybody in our division. At best, I think someone can, win their game at home. But I really, really am believing everything. I'm so far in the hype right now, I can't even see anything else because of what we did last year. The Sean McVay effect is just so unreal.
It's good.
I always say I'd listen to him like read the back of a medicine box or a cereal box because he's just that, you just get sucked into everything he's saying. And I'd run through a wall after hearing him read a movie review. I'd be like, let's do it. I'm expecting that. That's how I see it breaking down.
Bro, I'm right there with you. I remember after the 2006 Saints season, that was Sean Payton's first season, we went to the NFC Championship game that year. And honestly, we were one cornerback away from going to the Super Bowl. And I just remember I was the same way going into year 2. Like, there was nothing that man could have done wrong. There's still nothing he can do wrong in my eyes. But
exactly,
we're partial. But hey, come November 4th, this time we're going to be on our home turf and not playing in some crappy little soccer stadium. So I'm just letting you know. I'm calling you out right now, November 4th.
November 4th. All right, I'll keep that in mind. It sounds like a great time of yeyear to come down and get a beignet and hang out in New Orleans. So,
hell yes.
I may have to hit you up when I'm down there because I want to travel and see some games this year. We play in Mexico City, which is one I've got circled on my calendar right now, and then obviously I've got some ties to Chicago, so they're there in December. And that's another one I'm looking at. But New Orleans is one of my favorite places in this country, man. So I would love to come down and check out a game down there and then walk away with a win. Nothing better than winning a game on the road.
Oh, man, breaking my heart. All right, Brad, is there anything else as far as the Rams, the NFC West, the NFL in general that you want to kind of talk about?
I mean, I think we did a pretty good job covering it. I'm just really stoked for football. I mean, it's crazy in the past couple of years how they've done so great on, you got basketball and they've got their super teams, and it just doesn't seem like it's kind of like people could right now just go, oh, the Warriors are going to be in the finals again next year. And with the NFL, you just can't do that. Even on teams that, the Eagles that you're looking at and you're going, man, how are they going to not get beat? And then, the Rams, look at this. But anything can happen with the amount of players they have and the injuries. So I'm just so excited. I just wish we could fast forward the next 3-4 weeks and just get to it. But a lot of stuff to happen in between, here and then. And I just hope all these players around the league, and I said this on my own podcast, but I just hope all these players in the league are just staying out of trouble and, not out there on dirt bikes and playing beach volleyball tournaments and staying healthy, because there's nothing worse than, seeing some guy tear his ACL in non-football activity and kind of missing out on the season. So I just hope everyone comes in healthy and we kind of see the best of the best, because if you remember last year, there were a lot of players missing, which, makes it really interesting to see, Deshaun Watson back and to see Aaron Rodgers back.
32 ACLs, if I remember correct, from last year before the season started.
So, hopefully we get a full level of everyone's competition, and we'll really see what those Rams got. But man, I'm excited for all those matchups, and I get to play both your guys' teams. So hit me up before the game. We'll do a little friendly wager of a hat or a T-shirt or something. Man, I'm always down.
Hell yeah. Me and Tanner were sitting here. We're wrapping our brain around what we were going to do during these 6 weeks between mini camp and training camp, because literally nothing happens in the NFL. And if there's NFL news in these 6 weeks, it's like bad news. So that's why
exactly.
That's why we thought we'd get other fan bases involved again. So Brad, thank you, man. Thanks for jumping on. It's always good conversation when you come on the podcast. So we appreciate you.
Anytime, fellas, give me a call. I love chatting football. Best of luck to both of you guys and your teams this year until you face the Rams, and then all is fair.
That's
all right,
fair enough.
You.
Y'all be sure to go check Brad out on the Locked On Rams podcast, lockedonrams.com, and you can find him on Twitter. I know it's Rambling Bear, but I can't remember the first one part. Is it just LA underscore?
There you go, LA _Rambling Bear.
There it is. So y'all go check Brad out, and when you connect with him on the Twitters, be sure to tell him that you heard about him on allpronation.com. So appreciate you, Brad. You have a good one, man.
Yeah, you too. Take it easy, guys.
All right, thanks, man. Bye.
See ya.